As Walt Disney Parks and Resorts struggle to keep things running, it sounds like Fantasmic is back. But the real kicker is, it's come back, but the Pyrotechnics have not come back with it. Let's talk about reductions to one of Disney's biggest shows here on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter for That Park Place, and today with me, for the first time ever, theme park expert, Mr. VashSky. Vash, I'm so glad that you're here to talk about this phantasmagorical show that we're going to be analyzing from the Walt Disney Company.
I am very excited as well to dive into Mickey's imagination. Oh yes, the good old days when Disney used to produce some amazing stuff. But unfortunately, well, the Walt Disney Company hasn't necessarily been associated with amazing stuff, and most unfortunately, that's affected Fantasmic as well. This show from 1982, just an amazing production, and one of the best versions, that being Disneyland, that being on the banks of rivers of America. Jonas, just all kinds of problems these last couple of years.
Yep. So to be clear to everyone, we are talking about the Disneyland version of Fantasmic. Hey, there's a shot right there. Most pyrotechnics cut from Fantasmic at Disneyland as issues continue. This is a show that it's a long runner. It's a great show, by the way, and I love the soundtrack. Anyways, sorry. Hopefully that doesn't get us flagged for copyright. You know, that pitch perfect rendition that I just did for you all right there. Okay, so in this show, there is a giant dragon that appears at some point. It's supposed to be that Maleficent, often played by a dude, by the way, because it's so far away and the apparatus is so heavy that often it's a male performer in a Maleficent suit. Doesn't matter from this distance because the guests can't tell. Usually that performer will be like lifted into the air and there'll be a transformation effect that happens. And when that transformation effect clears, it's a giant dragon that breathes fire. That giant dragon caught fire. And so they canceled all pyrotechnics for these shows globally. And now, as rumors are, they're rebuilding that dragon and going to bring it back. But in the meantime, the show is going, not just in that B mode where it's Maleficent lifted high in the sky, sometimes Maleficent on the ground. But now we've got some additional updates here. Vash, add context, tell us what's going on.
Yes, absolutely. So a couple of days even before this specific article was actually published by Walt Disney World News Today or Disneyland News Today, we had this article actually published by the same outlet. Pyro elements ended mid-show and latest Fantasmic malfunction following rogue firework at Disneyland, by Britt Tuttle. It's very hard to make out in this video, so I'm not going to play it just for the purposes of time. But essentially, during the kind of monkey sequence at the near the start of the show, there was a rogue firework that actually went off while the performers were on their barges or are on the island itself, and that is not supposed to at all happen. And so because of that, for the rest of this show, they actually went without pyro, probably as a safety precaution. But now we are hearing from this new report out of Disneyland News Today that most of the pyrotechnics have been cut following that incident. Now, I'm not sure if that has anything to do with it. I'm not sure if there's maybe an investigation taking place that has rendered these offline. But by Shannon Ace right here, Fantasmic returned to Disneyland in May, 1 year after a fire that destroyed the Maleficent dragon figure. We went over that, but it's not been smooth sailing for the Nighttime Spectacular. The show has been performed with limited pyrotechnics on Saturday, July 27th, following weeks of issues that included Mickey's finger fireworks misfiring. That was another incident that actually took place in which there's an effect at the very start of the show where Mickey Mouse, played by a performer, has pyrotechnics on his hands, and that usually they just go off in this very coordinated sequence, but they actually went off premature.
That is a large effect, by the way. That's not one where whoever the performer was, and it might have been probably a woman in the suit, it was shooting towards the ground instead of shooting in the air. And while they're trying to get upstairs to their spot and put their hands in the air so they can do this full effect. To say that it's fireworks that shoot from a hand, it's not the size of fireworks that you might assume would be shooting from someone's hand. It is a full-size firework effect that is rigged to come from this person's hand. So they're probably feeling the heat. Now, especially when that's pointed down, all that heat would be coming up. causing risk of the suit itself catching fire, I would assume. I'm assuming also that these suits that they're wearing, it's a full Mickey costume, so I'm hoping that's flame retardant.
I would hope so. I would think so, but I'm not actually quite sure on that. I would assume that they would have taken extra precautions for anything pyrotechnics related in the wake of the Maleficent dragon figure being destroyed on stage. But apparently, I mean, with these pyrotechnics, whether they've gone rogue or whether they're misfiring in the case of Mickey there, not so much. But apparently, we've now gotten a reduction of pyrotechnics. Great. So the layout for this show is you have basically three main sections that you can see the show from, and there are duplicates of all the effects for those three main sections. So for the pyrotechnics barges, for example, there are 6, 2 for each of these sections, and apparently the 4 on either side of the center sections have been disabled when it comes to pyrotechnic effects, and they haven't been going off. Now, the pyrotechnic effects on the island apparently have been going off, and even some of those center barges aren't actually taking part in the show either. Before the show started, we noticed that 4 of the 6 fireworks barges on the rivers of America were gone entirely. Only the 2 center barges remained, and those removed included the barges that had rogue fireworks going off. Despite 2 barges remaining in the water, they weren't used during the show. Only pyrotechnics launched directly from Tyrannosaurus Island, and those on the Mark Twain riverboat were used. To clarify even further, even the pyrotechnics on those 2 barges that remained weren't used either. It's just, Jonas, come on. I mean, this is a premiere show for Disneyland. It's one of the reasons why you actually stay at night to actually take part in the entertainment package for the Disneyland Resort. It's a huge crowd pleaser. I believe it has a capacity of, like 6,000 people per show. And the dinner packages that they sell for this show, it's a direct revenue stream for the company. This is a huge seller for them. This is a huge revenue driver. This is a huge capacity suck for the entire Disneyland Resort. The fact that it is showing on a nightly basis in this state is pretty appalling, especially given how much work is actually going on for the entire Disneyland Resort as well. There really isn't any reason to go into this area at all, because I think at this time, Pirates of the Caribbean is also down, along with Splash Mountain. This is just...
Right. There's a point to be made here with the state of Disneyland leading up to D23 here, because we've had this conversation constantly. Splash Mountain, also adding to the list of things that are down. Haunted Mansion, the queue is taken down, and I think they just moved a fountain into the Haunted Mansion queue that was a working fountain elsewhere, and now it's a fountain filled with flowers. That seems to be an ongoing trend for the Walt Disney Company. They think that taking something that was supposed to be a fountain or used to be a fountain and filling it with flowers is something that impresses people. No, that doesn't. It's just a stand for your flowers at this point. You might as well put a pot of flowers on a cake stand. It doesn't matter. It seems to be an ongoing degradation of what is going on in the parks. Less impressive things over time. They've referenced the $60 billion to turbocharge the parks. We would like to know when that turbocharging would actually begin. Is the turbocharging in the room with us right now? Might be the appropriate question, because this all, to me, shows that either they are going in a completely different direction with the parks in order to make them cheaper, or they have not yet started to fix all of these parks. And I get the feeling it's the former rather than the latter here. I get the feeling that they are moving towards cheaper items for the parks, things that are less expensive to maintain. I've seen no indications that ticket prices will be moving in that direction either. While Epic Universe is dropping these amazing videos, and I'm going to say the Harry Potter one, we have some questions as to why that one was as bare bones as it was. We'll be talking about that in another video here on that park place. But still, that Harry Potter land is more impressive than anything that Disney is talking about right now, other than what Jim Shull referred to as Topical America's land going in over there at Disney's Animal Kingdom. I have so many questions about what is going on in these parks. And if Disney could be honest for a moment and say that we are in a rebuilding phase, I think that would leave a lot of people who are heavily invested in the health of these parks with a much better feeling about what's going on. Instead, I'm wondering if this way pared down Fantasmic show, if someone's going to show up for D23, which is the quote unquote ultimate fan event, using Disney's own words, paying $3,000 to get those premium tickets there. If they go over to Disneyland and they're expecting to see Fantasmic and they don't follow the way that they're supposed to, because we have a suspicion that the people who are the ultimate fans of Disney don't follow as closely as we do, that they're going to show up expecting to see the Fantasmic Maleficent dragon lifting up into the sky. Instead, they get a show that does not have pyrotechnics. I think they're going to be sorely disappointed with this version of the show, like the way you're disappointed when you see the 15-second version of the funny commercial instead of the 30-second one. This is not good. What if those people also paid the money to get those premier seats that come with a dining package or something like that? I just don't. I want to say that I don't understand. I would just like some clarity on the part of the Disney company. Is this the direction that you're heading, or are you in a rebuilding phase? I don't think it's the rebuilding phase. And if they would just be honest with guests, I think that would be really good.
Walt Disney used to have a quote when it came to Disneyland Entertainment. It says, "Give the people all you can give them." It just seems like the bare minimum is acceptable, or is something that they're perhaps striving for. Maybe it is to keep costs down, like you said, Jonas, and perhaps there are operational difficulties attached to that, right? We know that the new union contract, for example, was just ratified, and that had a significant pay increase. We'll be talking about that also on That Park Place, so stay tuned for that for sure. Maybe it's just the operational realities of running a theme park in the modern era, in which they have to keep costs down as much as possible. Perhaps, maybe, but like you said, Jonas, if you are going to provide less, why isn't the price actually commensurate with that? I guess at this time in this summer, they've given out all kinds of offers in order to generate some demand for this, what is a lackluster summer. You know what? Doesn't matter. Who cares? We're giving the product away anyway, in their view. I really don't know what is going on, but there has been a deep cultural shift, not just at Disneyland, but also Walt Disney World and the parks division in general, in which the minimum seems to be the acceptable route to go. And that is most unfortunate because Disney has never been associated with that, well, until now.
Yep, I totally agree. Now, that being said, we want to throw this to our commenters. What do you think about what's going on here with Fantasmic? Are they just keeping the lights on here? Not the pyro lights, but the lights on here at Fantasmic until they can get this repaired? Or is this the state of the show going forward? Like we've said, we think that Maleficent dragon is coming back. So take that into consideration here. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. It really helps us out if you can hit that like button. And of course, consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.